Hello, lovely viewers. Welcome again to another exciting edition of Talk in STEM Careers with Teen Leadership and Entrepreneurial Development Foundation. My name is John Paulo Sabute. I'm a representative for our foundation, and for today, our topic is on opportunities in material science and engineering. Today, we are privileged again to be joined by a wonderful resource person. His name is Dr. Abbey, but he always likes to be called Charles. Charles, you are welcome to our program.
Hey, John Paul, thank you very much. I'm actually honored to be seen worthy or invited to talk to you guys. So it's my pleasure.
Okay, so for the benefit of our viewers out there, Charles, could you please tell us a little bit about yourself, please?
Okay. So a lot of people know me or used to call me by Shamo. It used to be like my nickname, but about me, I'm the third child of four kids. I grew up in a fishing town in Accra. For those of you who know it, and I went through school, went through college. I'm now working as a senior metallurgical engineer in Nevada gold mines in US, and I'm married with three kids, two boys and a girl, and yeah, my education, I went to St. Peter's Secondary School in Kwewu, Nkwetia, and then I went to University of Mines and Technology, Takwa, where I did a 4-year degree and in minerals engineering. And then afterwards, I got retained by my university to do a master's, so I did an MPhil in minerals engineering. And afterwards, I taught at the university for 5 years. And so I was teaching minerals engineering for 5 years, and I decided to go do my Ph.D. so I could be a better teacher. And I felt I had done all my schooling in Ghana. I needed to get some outside exposure or to challenge myself, because at some point I felt like, oh, I was really good in Ghana, or people were getting to know me as a good metallurgist, whatever, or a teacher or lecturer. But I felt I needed to compete or see how I would perform and push myself out of that comfort zone that I was beginning to create. So I tried to look elsewhere, and I got PhD funding at Missouri University of Science and Technology. And so I left to do my PhD in 2015. And I got my PhD done in 3.5 years, and even half of a year in that 3.5 years, I was doing a sort of co-op or internship kind of thing for like 9 months. And then I graduated in December 2018. Well, I completed in December 2018 and graduated in May 2019. Afterwards, I got a job with Freeport McMoran Copper, where I was a metallurgist too, helping to extract copper in the electrowinning tank house. And afterwards, I moved to take a more senior role with Nevada Gold Mines after just a year and a few months. So I've been with Nevada Gold Mines since March 2020, and I'm enjoying that role a lot. It's an exciting role where I get to also display my leadership skills in addition to the technical knowledge that I've gained over the years. So I'm really excited to get this opportunity and get to this point in my career.
Okay, wonderful, wonderful. That's very great. Lovely viewers out there, if you are live with us on Zoom, you can put your questions in the chat section. If you are live on Facebook with us, you can put your questions in the comment section, and we'll read it out to Charles over here. Please do well to also like social media platforms. We are on Facebook, we are on YouTube, and we are on LinkedIn. Please like our pages, subscribe to them, and follow us. Doctor, so Charles, as you'd like to be called. So
Whatever makes you comfortable.
yeah, exactly. So you know, you said that you wanted to move out of that comfort zone of being a lecturer in UMass, and you went ahead to study a PhD program. So I want to know in the first place what influenced that decision. What was your motivation? What inspired you to take such a move?
You mean to do a PhD or to move out of my comfort zone?
Yeah, I mean all of that.
Well, the reason why I was doing the PhD is so currently in Ghana, we are trying to get to the point where every tertiary education teacher or lecturer or professor should have a minimum PhD qualification. So UMAT was encouraging its lecturers to do a PhD because definitely makes you a better teacher. You learn more, you know more, and your effect on the students is better. So that was what motivated me to do a PhD. But like I said, what got me out of my comfort zone is the fact that and I can take this real life situation. There are people who like Cristiano Ronaldo. There are people who like Messi, right? For me personally, I like Cristiano Ronaldo because I think he's out of his comfort zone and he's been very successful in
Exactly.
several other areas.
Mhm.
So that was sort of the motivation for me. I feel when you get too comfortable somewhere, you stop to grow. And so anytime you feel like, oh, I'm so good at this, it means you have to take on new challenges and try to attempt. It's okay to fail when you try those things, but at least it helps you to grow and know how or what mistakes you made and be able to go for it. So for me, I was getting to the point where I knew my lecture material so much. I've been teaching it for several years, and I was looking into the future and asking myself, do I think I'm gonna be um, uh, is it gonna be interesting to keep doing this every year? Like you always need a challenge. You need something to stress you out, part of the growth thing. So that was my motivation. I wanted desperately to leave my comfort zone and challenge myself.
Okay, so that's interesting. So for the benefits of our viewers out there, the goal of this program is to inspire the younger adults out there, uh, so that we try to tell them that achieving a career in STEM is not out of their reach. So
Yep.
for the benefits of the teenagers, you studied engineering right from
Yes.
senior high school. What was your inspiration?
Okay, so growing up, I've always been like a hands-on person, and I don't remember how old I was, but I remember one time in my life, I think maybe just around 10, 11, or 12 or whatever. But if you grew up in the era or the time I grew up in, we used to make Conco cars and all those things. And those were things I used to love. My
Yeah.
brother would play with batteries and small motors and lights and all that. And I felt I enjoyed those. But what made me realize that engineering was my thing was I think like the earlier ages, we couldn't afford a bicycle and all those things. So for some reason, I felt I could make a bicycle myself with wood, and I cut pieces. I actually got a frame,
Mhm.
but I didn't have ties to put on. And it wasn't strong enough to carry someone, but I felt some satisfaction in making my own wooden bicycle, which I nailed and hammered and cut pieces. It looked awkward, but I'm I wish we had cameras as easily as we do now. I'm sure I should have had a picture of it, but
Okay.
so that was what like the earliest point where I realized no, I was meant to be an engineer because I just like fixing things, making things on my own, getting things done. And so I realized that, but also through my education, I realized I was good at maths. Like it was effortless for me to learn mathematics. when we were taught mathematics, I got it so quickly, but I hated or didn't really enjoy reading. So, like, when it was time to make a decision, I felt, okay, why do you do a course like literature or um, what do you call it, arts or something where you have to do a lot of reading, history and all that when you don't enjoy reading? So it felt like a natural progression to go into engineering because that was where I was sort of meant to be because it looked more or less like, yeah, that's what you enjoy doing, so go do it.
Wow, that is great. So you studied minerals engineering in the university, and you moved on to an MPhil in that same uh,
Yeah, minerals
program.
engineering.
Yeah,
Yeah.
in that same program. So why did you change paths into material science and engineering?
Well, so I didn't totally change paths. The
Mm-hmm.
degree's name is materials engineering. So I have a, and even when I was graduating, my advisor asked me, hey, so you were in the material science department, and so they award material science and engineering degrees. But my thesis and research and everything was still metallurgy or minerals engineering. So he was asking if I wanted my Ph.D. to be called Ph.D. in metallurgy or Ph.D. in metallurgical engineering or Ph.D. in material science. And I felt material science is more of a broader area. And so it makes you more versatile, and material science jobs or people who are looking for material scientists will still consider you. Basically, we do about the same things, just that I focus a little bit deeper in a small area of material science. And material science is really big. It deals with metals, deals with um, plastics, wood, anything that's a material, right? And
Okay.
so naming the degree as material science, I felt to open up more opportunities for me. But I'm still basically a metallurgist or a minerals engineer.
Okay.
But to help those who sometimes are trying to find a career path or what have you, this is how I got into minerals engineering. And I feel like it's good to tell that story because if anybody gets into that situation, then they would know how to navigate it.
Yeah,
So when I
yeah.
completed my secondary school, I I wouldn't say I was excellent, but I got sufficient that I thought should be able to allow me to get into college or university. And those days, UMAT was sort of under KNUST. So knowing that I wanted to be an engineer, and at some point I even thought I wanted to be a pilot. So it's okay to have several different careers as you grow, but definitely some things will push you or direct you towards the final one that you would be successful at. So just consider what options you have. But I wanted to be a pilot, and so I felt the best route would be to be a mechanical engineer. So I applied for mechanical engineering in KNUST, and then my second choice, those days you had to choose like three courses, was electrical or something. And then I was lost at choosing a third choice. But for some reason, I think my dad sort of influenced it. He was like, yeah, you can choose minerals engineering at Takwa. I'm sure you'll get your first or second choices. So maybe that would even be inconsequential. So I chose minerals engineering. And maybe if it was a work of God or that's how it was meant to be or whatever, I didn't get any of my first two choices and I got minerals engineering. So I was bummed. I was sad. I felt, oh, I'm not going to go do it. I'm just going to wait next year and then um, go try again for mechanical or even try rewrite and all that. And then my
Mhm.
dad was like, hey, just go give it a shot. You never know, right? And so against my will, or it was very difficult to accept that because I felt if I start, I would not stop,
Mhm.
or he would not allow me to get out. So maybe it was kind of a trick to get me to go do it.
Mhm.
So I didn't want to do it. I didn't want to do it. And finally I went. But to liken that to another story, the famous Michael Jordan, when he had a deal with Nike, those days Nike wasn't popular or even famous, and they were trying to offer him a deal. And because he didn't know Nike, he felt it was a way lower option, and he didn't even want to consider it. And his mom told him, "Hey, just go give it a shot. You never know." And so did. If you watch his documentaries, it's one of the things that changed his life in terms of money and popularity, and it also helped Nike to also become the brand it is now. So sometimes giving things a shot may be good. So I gave it a shot, went for my first semester, met some good friends. I enjoyed minerals engineering. So I just got stuck with it. I've loved it ever since. I think it was a good advice from my dad. Just giving it a shot, I realized I loved it, and here I am today. I don't know how I would have ended up if I did something else, but
Yeah.
I'm very comfortable and content with making the decision for minerals engineering.
Wow. That's very great. I mean, it's an inspiring story to all the younger ones out there. Sometimes you have to give some things a try. You have to give them a shot. You never
Yeah.
know what will happen in the end. So, how was the transitioning process like? Moving from Ghana to study in the United States.
Oh man, it was. Sometimes I don't want to say this story because it looks like everybody has that same story, but I will tell you the truth. I got to the US with just $240 in my pocket. And
Wow.
from that, I had to pay rent. I had to pay my feeding till I got my first stipend and all that. It was tough. It
Uh-huh.
was way tough for me because at that time I was married. I had
Wow.
a kid and I
Okay.
was leaving them in Ghana. It was the biggest emotional roller coaster for me. Um, but I just had my eyes on the prize, and I just thought I have to push it to the hardest limit I could. Um, so it was a difficult transition. It was kind of tough, but for some reason we made it, and I can never understate the help and assistance I also got from people. Where I am now has never been just me. I got some friends who um, who took me in, like they helped me virtually. I didn't have a car, they would drive me to Walmart. Even where I'm doing this interview now is one of those friends, and he's been a good friend um, since that time. So also part for the young guys,
Mm-hmm.
sometimes friends, and there are people who would come in to help you, and if you need help, it's always okay to ask, reach out, talk to somebody. People sometimes don't realize you're going through stuff, and you don't have to die under whatever stress you're going through. So reach out and talk to people. People drove me around the first few weeks or months that I was in the country. But the biggest transition was the cultural shock.
Okay. Mm-hmm.
So when you're in Ghana, you even go for your first lecture with, like, on your first day in school, your first lecture, you meet people in class, and the assumption is, oh, once we are in class, we will be friends, right? But
Mm-hmm.
then when I came to the US, I had class and I saw people, and after class, I thought, oh, you could see them in the hallway and just say hi or even give them a handshake. Like in Ghana, we always want to shake people. It was totally different here. So you talk to someone and they'll look at you as if they never knew you, but you're like, hey man, I just sat in class with you. Why do you look like you don't know me? And then I realized, okay, for them, you have to be a friend. Like they have to choose that, okay, this is my friend, and then you can say, okay, we are friends.
Oh.
So outside that, so that was a big culture shock for me,
Mm.
and it was interesting to navigate that. And some of those things you never get a warning before you see it,
Yeah.
but when you see it with time, you get to realize, okay, it's not something against you personally, but it's just how they don't just easily call people friends or give handshakes in the street or that kind of thing. So it was an uneasy navigation, but or transition. But I think now when I look back, it taught me a lot of things.
Wow. That's wonderful. That's wonderful.
Yeah.
So, lovely viewers out there, if you just joined us, you can put your comment section or your questions in the chat box on Zoom, and on Facebook. You can put your questions in the comment section and we read it out to Doctor over here. So, Doctor, we want to get to know a little bit about your profession. You said you are a metallurgist, so we'd like to know who a metallurgist is.
Okay, so a metallurgist is a small branch of material science,
Mm,
right? And it deals with, like the name implies, metals. So anything related with metals, the extraction, the processing, the development, the making into other materials of metals. Um, but it's important to also make this distinction. So in Ghana, when you study what I call metallurgist, to be a metallurgist in any of the mines, we call it minerals engineering.
mhm.
And when you travel out, that's where you realize that that is one of the best education you can have in
Okay.
terms of going into the minerals industry. So for
Mhm,
us, we study it as minerals engineering. And so we add things like diamond processing, which diamond is not a metal. So if you're doing straight metallurgy, you
mhm,
wouldn't learn that. But through my journey and meeting with world-class people, I realized the kind of quality of education, and even working with other people who have studied in some of these big universities,
mhm,
the quality of education we get is really, really, really good.
mhm,
And I think it's top notch. It's because my transition into various jobs, I've transitioned into two jobs, and it has not been as difficult as it would have been because I had very good fundamentals. It's just some resources and some facilities that we don't have. But in terms of the theory and the knowledge and the principles, we learn those really well. And so when you come into a new scenario where you get the facilities you need, it just adds up and then it shoots you up. And that's why a lot of Ghanaians come to different countries and they do really well because we understand the principles. We just need that facilities or that new environment or enabling environment to bring it all together and we become so successful. But
okay.
the education we get in Ghana is really good.
Oh, okay. That's great. So, I think material science and engineering is the broad field of metallurgy, or maybe almost the same as metallurgy. What are the opportunities, in this field? I mean, if someone wants to study material science and engineering.
Okay, so I'll break it down into two. We'll start with metallurgy. So with metallurgy, there are so many opportunities, and for both of them anyway. So you're sort of almost limiting yourself because then you are sort of scoped only to mining and extraction and that kind of thing. But material science is broad. At the Ph.D. level, when you do material science, you do all the basic fundamentals that a metallurgist needs, a chemical engineer needs, phase diagrams, all those kind of phase defects and all those things. So for a material scientist, you can work in any engineering firm. You can even divert into electricals because under the material science, we look at electrons and then electricity, charges, all those things. So there are vast opportunities for a material science engineer. Um, you can work in national research labs where they are developing guns, ammo, um, various. It's the list is endless because anything that involves a material, whether plastics, whether wood, whether metals, composites, right? Composites are materials that are made with any two or more types of material. So people are developing plastics infused with wood to give it strength or to give it some other properties. High temperature applications like the Air Force where they have to fly deep, and even space applications where they have to fly deep into space. And at those places, the temperatures get really hot. So material science and engineers develop materials that can withstand those temperatures, that do not break, that do not disintegrate. So the list of things that you can do in material science is endless. And there are so many opportunities that you can find yourself in that will pay you really well, that you'd enjoy your job or your work, that would also open up a really big network for you.
Yeah.
So there are so many opportunities. It's just we will not be able to mention all of them. But anywhere you can think a material is used,
Mhm.
whether carpentry, woodwork, um, a material science and engineer can find himself there, depending on the size of the company or the opportunity. So your options are endless.
Okay. That is great. So the options are endless, and with what you are saying, it means that material science and engineering encompasses like the whole livelihood of the human race. Like materials make the human activities better. So in Ghana, I know you are out there, but in Ghana, do you think using material science and engineering as a program, we can really develop our country very well?
Yes, material science and engineering can be a bedrock or a cornerstone for Ghana's development. I feel we've not exploited it enough. I think KNUST does material science, and I understand UMAT is considering or may have started material science. That's a really good idea or strategy because everything, even um, biomedical, so material sciences are developing things that you can put in the eye that would not disintegrate in the body or would not cause any infections in the body that will
Mhm.
help you to see. All those things are material science ideas or um, programs. And so if Ghana wants to develop and we put a good focus on material science, we can make it. If you look at China and even Korea,
Mhm.
the reason why their cars and things became so popular is they were able to solve a problem that the cars we used to buy from US and Japan
Mhm.
um, did not have. They looked at lighter materials, and so with lighter and cheaper materials, they were able to develop cars that were cheaper. And so Kia and all those cars started out as cheaper cars, which still did the purpose of moving you from one place to the other, right? And so for poor people, they were able to go for those options. And now Kia has become a well-known brand, which
Yeah.
everybody is associating with. And so people like um, the inventor in Cape Coast or Elmina, Winneba,
Kantanka, Kantanka.
Kantanka, people like them, if they get some push or some support and
Mhm.
they get we fuse those people with people like us, we
Mhm.
can get into some good collaborations, give them directions, or decide together an area that would benefit Ghana in making um, things that we can use in Ghana that are cheaper, and we stop those imports. And
Yeah.
with time, even if we make more than we need, we can be exporting some of these things. Places like China started these cheap Chinese phones and all that. It's just, I think initially may have started that, okay, let's do things that Chinese people can afford. That still
Mhm.
does the job. And with time, they started exporting some. With time, they got better knowledge and started developing the cheaper things that they did or the easier things that they did to be more formidable and compete well with the international market. And they started getting people to buy them. So that's the thing. If we want to put some effort into it, Ghana can rise or develop through material science or collaborations with material science, right? So that we can start making products that we can export and move away from raw materials, exporting raw materials and selling pineapples or exporting pineapples. And those are good. I'm not saying it's bad, but I mean, we can add other things to it or even develop those products into more value added products, which will bring more than just shipping raw bauxite to China and they export it and we buy um, the aluminium back at a more expensive price or however we do it. It may not be sustainable and we have to look more closely at it and engage technocrats to help develop some of these areas.
Yeah. So, with that said, what advice do you give to, the younger adults out there who are now listening to you or would listen to you later and would want to get into material science and engineering?
Well, I think that the directions are endless. So even if you want to go into the biology side, you can still be a material science engineer and work in the biological side where you're looking at things that can be implanted like titanium. Those are things, titanium that we put in people's arms and legs when they get accidents and all that. Those are
Mhm.
things that were developed by material scientists, but it was a material scientist who also had the bio or the biological aspect. So you can merge material science with any other physics, mathematics, chemistry, and develop any material based on that. So I think material science has endless opportunities. I would encourage anybody who feels they are interested in developing that, and to also think of it as that very broad area, so that you don't think material science is just looking at corrosion or the things that people normally project as material science. There are so many different facets of material science that you can find a career in. So if you feel, oh, I'm inclined to biology, but I also want to do material science, there's something you can do in that. If you feel, oh, I like physics, or I like moving things, or I love cars, you can go into material science and be in the car development or car manufacturing area as a material science engineer contributing in that industry. So yeah, I'd encourage anybody who feels they have that interest to go into material science. It's very rewarding, not just in terms of cash, but as a human being, when you see a product that you are part of making, it gives
Yeah.
you more satisfaction than even money. So in my previous job, I was helping. I was at the final point of making copper. So when we are done with the copper, we put them in bundles and we stack them in a yard before the export trucks come to pick it up. And that's what gives me the biggest joy, not my salary. Like when I see that product and I see how fine it is because I contributed, set the limits, set the targets, and got it out looking so good, where our customers were happy to get it. That was what gave me joy. In my current role, also, I'm in gold, and I got a chance to go into the gold house. And I can send you a picture of that later, but I carried a bar of gold and took pictures. And so
Wow.
anytime I'm working to get that gold out, I know what I'm producing, and that's the rewarding part. But when you look at money also, if that's your motivation, it's very rewarding to go into material science. And you can also create a really big network from material science. And it would open you up to a lot of opportunities and expose you out to a lot of things. So I, for me personally, I've not regretted going into
Mhm.
material science, and I think anybody who goes into it would enjoy it.
So, Dr. Abbey, with all what you've said right now, I think if you look at material science and engineering right now, it has a very bright future. Not even with the field or the career aspect, but making the lives of humans better. What do you have to
Yes,
say about that?
yes, that's true. That's true. We are developing materials that help human beings live longer. We are developing materials that help human beings have a better quality of life. If you have an accident, those days, if you have an accident and you're paralyzed at one point or something, your life is gonna be like that. So let's say you pass. But these
Wow.
days we are developing things that make those people still have, like you get your arm amputated. We are getting materials that help people to be able to still have function in their hands and or any other part of their body. So it's it's creating a really big impact on our lives, and not just in our living as our quality of life and all that, but even in agriculture, um, in the aerospace industry, in the space industry, um, every facet of life. Material science is improving lives, and it's making life more
Wow.
enjoyable. And we keep pushing the boundaries. Previously, some of the things we are developing today as material science were not there, and there's still room to develop more things.
Wow.
So the chances are endless, the opportunities are endless, and also the things we can develop with material science are endless. So it's not like those days when the scientists, we felt they've invented all the things, so when we come we cannot have anything to invent. There are still things we can keep inventing with material science. um, Even just mixing any two materials is a new invention, and it's just up to us to test what it can do and see where we can apply it and get some value out of it. So there are
That-
endless things we can do.
So there are endless creativity
Yep.
in material science and engineering. You can do a lot with it. So viewers out there, you can put your questions in the chat box here on Zoom. We have one question over here. I'm going to read it out. You can also put uh, all your questions if you are watching us from Facebook. You can put them in the comment section. So someone asked that I like polymer a lot. Please, can you enlighten me on some of the jobs in there?
Yeah, you like polymers.
Yeah.
Polymers are part, like it's under material science. There are so many jobs, like I said. I've been focused in metallurgy, and so I know the metallurgy jobs, but there are labs that are developing polymers for various applications, and I'm totally positive. I can't mention a particular job today or now that
Mm-hmm.
that has need for polymer people who have studied into polymers, but I'm sure you can Google something and find jobs. But there are so many jobs that you can get in polymers, and polymers are very exciting also to study. They also have various facets. They are still being developed, and there are various opportunities you can get in polymers. So if that's what you love, just go for it. There's a career for you out there in polymers, and I'm sure you're gonna enjoy it.
Okay. I hope that answers your question over there. So, Doc, what will you say to the Ghanaian teenagers' mindset that um, attaining a PhD is only for people who want to get into academia, but not for the ones who want to actually work in the industry? Because you have a PhD now, you are being called doctor right now, but you are working in the industry. What do you say to that?
Yes. So let me see the best way I can go about this question. So my motivation for doing a PhD was different from where I am now or my motivation now. And so it's also okay. Your motivation will change along the line. That's fine. But I feel sometimes we get too much into one aspect, and so we lose. For me, I think having that PhD does not necessarily mean you have to be in academia.
Mm-hmm.
It is definitely difficult or more difficult to transition from the PhD into industry because there's that mindset, right? The people in industry, one, may not be too sure. There's that stereotype of PhD holders who are like, um, they want to hide in their corner. They don't share their information. They are boring people to work with or live with, and so industry really has that stereotype. And so it's up to people like us who are trying to change it. And so
Correct.
now I know a lot of PhD holders who are going into industry. They are doing very well. They are very successful. Even
Mm-hmm.
when you take me within like 2 or so years, I've been able to transition into a higher role.
Mm-hmm.
That shows that I'm doing good or I'm doing well.
Yeah.
So it's not necessarily, or you're not constrained to be in academia if you have a PhD. You can transition into into industry. And so for me, a personal cause that I'm championing is to try and diffuse that stereotype and get people to realize that, hey, you're okay giving a PhD person a chance in your industry, provided um, you can find the right PhD person. And I agree, there are still people who still live that stereotype of PhD holders who always want to
That,
lord their PhD over people. Like you call them Mister by mistake, and they'll be like, "Hey, how dare you? You have to call me Doctor." That kind of thing. Those are the things that make industry not want to engage us, right? Because
yeah.
we always feel like, oh, I have a PhD, so everybody should kowtow to me. But frankly, when I went into industry, what I realized is if you want to learn or you want to develop or you want people to help you, you are better off hiding your PhD degree. Don't even mention it. If it helps you get a job, fine. The HR people know you have it, your boss knows you have it. But when it comes to your colleagues and the people you work with, because one, it may create an inferiority complex for those who don't have it. They'll feel, okay, hey, I'm scared. This guy is coming to take my job, or he's going to get promoted quicker, or whatever. So they get scared, and maybe they may not interact with you the way they should. That would make both of you's work productive, and you may rely on them to be successful. So if they are not productive, it also impacts your work. But some of these people are also very brilliant. They have the industry experience, they know the stuff. So if you go lord your degree over them, they'll not teach you anything, and you spend 2 years, you don't know anything, they'll not work with you well, everything. So we have to try and break those stereotypes. There's no rule that says if you get PhD, you should be in academia, or if, yeah, you can transition into it. And in fact, with a higher technical knowledge, if you
Mm-hmm.
get a little bit of industry experience, you may. I'm not saying you may become a better engineer or a better industry person, because when it comes to your technical knowledge, or you make your decisions based on sound technical foundations and knowledge, and you add it to some of the experience. Let me give you a typical example. When I was doing um, my PhD, my research topic is a really good academic topic. But when I got into industry, I realized that. So when I was doing it, I was like, yeah, I can do this work and it will make me look good, or it would change the face of material science or metallurgy or copper production, because it would save so much money and all that. But when I got into industry, I realized that in the US, energy was not so expensive. So what I was developing, even though academically was good,
Mm-hmm.
it didn't really matter, because cost is not energy is not expensive. So when I'm trying to save cost, because academically it sounded good, I realized, oh, people in industry don't really care about it.
Mm-hmm.
So having the two sides, when you know what industry cares about and you are good at research and development, then you know what to research and develop and bring your company some value. So when now I have the chance to develop something, I will not go back and do that work that really
Yeah.
does not, people don't care about in industry, because whatever we do as academia should be linked with industry. We are
Yeah.
developing it for life and for application. So why do you develop an academic thing that really is not necessary, or cannot be applied? So we have to break that stereotype, one, and there's no rule that says you have to work in academia if you have a PhD, and you can be very successful having a PhD and being in industry.
Wow, that's interesting. So one stereotype resolved. Now another stereotype. We
Yeah,
come to Ghana. The young adults, teen or teenagers' mindset is that engineering equals men, and the social sciences or the humanities equals the ladies or the girls. What do you have to say about that?
I think that's also a stereotype we have to break.
Mhm.
I have a daughter, and I'm gonna push her to whatever area she wants to go into. If coincidentally she decides to go the arts way, which stereotypically we think are for the girls, that's what she wants to do. I'll let her do it. If she wants to have a PhD in material science or anything that we think are for men, I'll push her as much as I would. For one, my boss, who is my superintendent, she's a lady. My previous job, the boss was also a lady. She's an engineer and a really good metallurgist,
Wow.
right? And in my current job, also, my superintendent is a lady and a metallurgist. So we should break those stereotypes. There are some ladies who are really smart, who are really hardworking, who can do anything. And so we shouldn't let those stereotypes limit them,
So
right?
so
And if you're a
so
guy also, yeah.
so you're saying that women also do have equal opportunities in STEM or in material science and engineering?
Yes, yes, I believe so. Women can do great. I know some really great women who are doing their PhDs now, Augustine or Sabute. I know a lot of people who I think are doing really good jobs. And I think we just have to break those stereotypes. There's nothing that says absolutely that women have to go into a particular field. And breaking the stereotype, we should also break it with the men also. I've seen some really fantastic male nurses, which
Mm-hmm.
I really admire. The stereotype is always women who are nurses, but I've seen men who care better for their patients
Wow.
as nurses than some women would, right? So basically, whether you're a girl, whether you're a boy, or a man, a woman, whatever you feel you can do well at, whatever you're motivated at, whatever brings you joy, right? Because there's always a saying that if you find something you love doing, you never have to work in your
Yeah.
life, right? So whatever brings you joy, whatever brings you satisfaction, I'd urge you to go into it. If it coincidentally falls in a male stereotypical role, it's fine. But once you enjoy doing it, good. And if it's a non typical role for a woman, go into it, give it a shot. You may fail, you may succeed. If you succeed, it's good. If you fail, it's also okay. You get to learn that experience and you get some experiences that you carry on into your next role. But even if your next role is also another stereotypically male role, it's still fine. Keep pushing it till you find what you love and what you enjoy doing.
Yeah. So you keep pushing it till you find your rhythm. It's
Yes.
always like that.
Yes.
Yeah. So we have a question on Zoom. It's a bit technical. I don't know. Can you enlighten us about graphene and its application?
So, like I mentioned, a material science engineer is a very broad topic.
Mm-hmm.
So, there's no material scientist who knows everything in material science. Graphene is a carbon product, and that's about all I know. I know it has a lot of good applications because um, it has all the, I would say, properties that carbon has, and
Mm-hmm.
it's a new research area that is being developed. I
Okay.
don't say I'm an expert in it, and so I won't venture, but I'm sure I can help find you literature in graphene, or you may be able to find literature in graphene
All right.
to read. But the point I'm trying to make is, as a material science engineer, I may not be able to answer all material science and engineering questions, and I didn't really pay attention to graphene as a research area, so I may not be able to give you as much information as you need.
Okay.
Um,
So
yeah, but there's
there is
literature
another
out there to
question.
find. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. So we can always read a lot from literature. There is another question which says, what are some of the opportunities in the field, of resources recovery? Yeah.
So in resource recovery, I'm not sure if he's talking about metallurgy because
Mm-hmm.
minerals are resources and trying to recover it, and I'm not too sure exactly where that question is going. But if you're talking about metallurgy, there are so many opportunities. You can work in any of the mines, and you find that metallurgists are sort of like the core of any mine. People think it's the mining engineers, but mining engineers only bring the material
Okay.
and that's it. But for the metallurgists, we take it from that dirt all the way to the finished product. So me as a metallurgist, some of the things that are required of me is to have some basic knowledge in accounting, basic knowledge in environmental, basic knowledge in all the various fields that are on the mine site, right? Even warehouse and stocking, because I never want to have my mill down when because there's a part that I didn't have in the warehouse. So I deal with reliability engineers. I deal with almost everybody. So being a metallurgist, you can start off in the hardcore metallurgy areas, right, or the resource recovery industry, and be a metallurgist, or you could you could even in the metallurgy, you could be a shift metallurgist, a normal metallurgist, where you can work in technical services or work in the operations role. And then you can also be in the assay and lab. So even if you're a metallurgist and you see that, oh, you love chemistry a little bit more, you can push yourself more into the assay lab where they do all the analysis and the chemistry and all those things. The other opportunities also is I've seen metallurgists who have transitioned into safety roles, environmental engineering roles, and they are doing really well because they understand the metallurgy and so they tailor made the safety for that. I've seen metallurgists who have transitioned into training roles. One good example is Michael Edu. I think he's in Barrick.
Mm-hmm.
Barrick Gold, and he was a minerals engineer straight away after school. I think a few years he took courses in safety and training or whatever, and I think he's a manager, right, in Barrick for some area. I think you can find him on LinkedIn. So you can there are so many opportunities, even just in the metallurgical industry, and even in a particular company, right? There are people who you can be an accountant. You can just get. When I was in school, there was a gentleman who did who chatted as an accountant while he was still a minerals engineer. And these are not just things I'm saying. There are people that I know, Chia Mwako,
Mhm.
and it's something you can do, be in the accounting side of metallurgy, or be an accountant, but because you know the metallurgy, you can help your mind do better accounting or manage resources better, and do all those things. So the opportunities are very vast, and don't put yourself in the straight jacket where you think you only have to be a plant metallurgist, or you can be in technical services, or you can be in operations, or you can go into training, you can go into. So if you're someone like me who love teaching, and I have gone up in the technical knowledge also, I could go be a training manager or a training officer somewhere, and maybe do a better job training the operations people because I have the technical knowledge, and I can also add my teaching experience to it. So
Great,
there are lots
great.
of opportunities in resource
Okay.
recovery.
So with the training aspect, I did a little bit of background research on you, and I got to realize that you were training young metallurgists in your company. Do you feel that mentorship or coaching is a very relevant aspect in STEM?
Yes, it's a critical role. And so I'm always open to mentoring and helping people because I got a lot of help. I got a lot of mentorship from people. Um, Professor Richard Kwesi Amankwa, who is now the incoming VC of UMass, was a great example. And I call him regularly. We still have a really good relationship. And I tell him, Prof, all the things you taught me. And it wasn't just the technical side. When I was teaching at UMass, I was sort of under him. And I learned a lot of things, giving people opportunity, helping people, not being that selfish, jealous, or whatever type. You just open yourself up, and it brings a lot of good rewards. And I tell him, hey, Prof, all those little soft skills and things you taught me, I'm using it today, and it's bringing me a lot of value. It makes people appreciate me better. Like nobody wants to have someone who they work with who doesn't want to share. So, and
Yeah.
I know people do this a lot, and it starts from our universities where we make things look like everything is a competition. So even in the university where we are not competing, when someone knows something they don't want to teach, and
What
they
is
always want to hide it, but you realize when you go out there into the world, everything is about collaboration and networking.
yeah.
You have a little, someone brings a little, we bring it together and get a bigger effect. So I would encourage anybody who has those kind of don't copy me life and in school. If it's WAEC, it's against the law to copy or to show people your work. If it's an exam in the university, it's still the same. But as much as possible, if you can collaborate, if you can create networks, if you can develop some of those soft skills, I would encourage you to do it. It brings a lot of value. And
Mm,
so for me, I give of myself because I'm trying to give back. I've gained a lot from people. People have held my hands. People have opened opportunities to me. People
mhm.
have trained me, taught me what they know. So I feel it's just natural for me to give back. And so when I'm in a role where I can teach or train people, I enjoy doing it. And
Yeah.
it's something that pays off. And it brings me personal satisfaction.
Mm,
And when I was trying to look for a university to get funding, it was a really tough race. I it took me about 3 years, and even with my qualification as a lecturer at UMass and all that,
wow.
my students were asking me for reference letters and recommendations, and I'd write really good recommendations for them. and I'll
Mm-hmm.
do it quickly so that I wouldn't hold them off on any opportunities they were. And then I'll get some of them sending me, "Oh, I got this opportunity. I'm going to." And I was looking for I was looking for the same opportunities, but I was writing recommendation letters for people, and they were getting it, and I wasn't getting it, and that's fine, right? You
Mm-hmm.
you you just have to know that at your time your opportunities will come, and some
Yeah.
people will also help you to get it. And so don't let others take you away from what you have to do, right? And
That's
so that's the thing. I just love helping people out, and I'm sure maybe I've gotten this far because I help people out.
mhm. Yeah.
Yeah, I think opening up opportunities for people and training people. And I feel proud. I know people who I taught in school, even just that 5 years that I was studying,
Mm-hmm.
that have gone up to be managers and all that. I'm not yet a manager, but it's fine. It brings me some joy and pride because I know one day I can just pick a phone and say, "Hey, man, I'm coming back to Ghana. I need a job.
Yeah.
Fix me up with a job or something." So you never know how life unfolds. So if
Mm-hmm.
you can help someone, you can teach someone, you can train someone, yeah, do it. And Prof. Mekujima always says this: the more I teach, the more I get to know.
Wow.
So if you teach, it
Mm-hmm.
becomes, and one way that this is clear is when I was transitioning from copper to gold. Because I
Mm-hmm.
used to teach gold when I had to go for my interview, and even when I started the work, I wouldn't say I've actually gone back to review my notes.
Okay.
Because I was teaching it, it's a part of me. So I just woke up and went for that interview. But I'm not preaching that don't be prepared for any opportunity.
Mm-hmm.
But it's just what happened. I think I didn't have time or something, but when I
Yeah.
went, I was able to answer the technical questions, and I'm doing really well in that role because I taught it so long and it became part of me. I've
Wow.
left the copper industry for what, 3 or 4 months, but even sometimes when I'm trying to remember some of the KPIs that we're trying to achieve,
Mm-hmm.
it's a little bit difficult because I never actually taught it. I
Mm-hmm.
used to do it. I At the time I was doing it, I knew it, but because I've been away from it for like 6 or so months, now some
Mm-hmm.
of those things are becoming hazy.
Wow.
But for gold, when I took like a 5 year break, it's still with me. Like,
Yeah.
because
Yeah.
I was teaching it, it's just part of me. I can just wake up in the morning and go teach principles of minerals engineering or metallurgical engineering, and it will just come naturally. So the more you teach something, the more
Mm-hmm.
you get to know it, and that thing is true. And I'm evidence of that. So
Yeah.
if you
That's
can teach someone, do it.
yeah. That's great. We've learned a lot today. You've given a lot of advices today. Um. So, guys, if you are watching us, we have our social media platforms. We're on YouTube, we're on LinkedIn, and we're on Facebook. Please follow us, like our pages, subscribe to our channels. Thank you very much. Doc, you know, would you say that engineering is difficult or challenging?
Well, you just have to be ready for it. So in my family, and this is always my example, like I always like to give examples, and maybe because I was teaching before or whatever, but I feel that helps people to remember things better. So in my family, we are four. Two of us have that photographic memory, so we can go to class, listen, and we get it. And then the other two, they are not like that, so they have to sit and read and read more or practice a lot and all that. So the reason why I'm saying this is all four of us have been successful,
Mm-hmm.
and it's just because we all know ourselves and we know what we have to do. So the other two who need to learn and learn and learn, they can't assume they are like us. And
Mm-hmm.
so when I'm playing or I'm not doing what I need to do, then he will also be playing. He realized that, okay, well, to know it, I need to sit down 2 more hours than Charles will sit down.
Yeah.
And doing that, he has also been successful.
Mm-hmm.
So engineering is doable, it's achievable. You just have to realize that, or you just have to be cognizant of what it takes
Mm-hmm.
to do engineering,
Wow.
right? So engineering means you have to pay more attention to maths, pay more attention to physics, pay more attention to this. And so once you're ready to do those, you'll be successful.
Great.
Um, yeah. I
So,
see a question here, which I think like I want to talk about. He's like, please, doctor, you made mention of transition of the PhD to industry
mm-hmm,
difficult. Why and how can you transition that? I need to
yeah,
show how.
mm-hmm,
I've said it's
yeah,
possible, but
yeah,
the how I've not talked about. And if you want to give me like 2 minutes, I'll talk about it.
okay, okay,
While you are doing the PhD, you have to realize that there's that stereotype. And so you have to try and break the stereotype before you're ready to get a job. And when I say that, what I mean is before you complete, try as much as possible to get an internship, get some exposure to the industry while you are in school. That
mm-hmm,
helps a lot. A lot of, and for people who come into America and Canada and things, oh, I'm coming to do a PhD, and they focus only on the PhD. And when they are done, it takes them like 3 years to find a job. Your easiest way to get a job right after school is to have an internship or some sort of exposure with the industry. You also need to develop your leadership and talking skills and all those soft skills, because those are the things that make you out in a crowd, right? Because the crowd has all the technical knowledge people. So what takes you out of, makes you unique in that crowd is the soft skills. So when you go for the interview, even the handshake you have with the HR person or the manager, people tell from handshakes, or if you are that timid who just gives your four fingers, I'm not saying it's bad, but um, there are literature on how people read those kind of things. So it means you are not too confident or you are shy or something. When you give a full handshake, people read those also as confidence and those kind of things. And those are the things that people are looking for. So while you're in school doing the PhD, you have to be thinking about the transition and start making moves towards the transition by looking for opportunities to do short, quick stints, doing volunteer work, because that's what makes people realize that okay, you're not that PhD guy who wants to sit in the corner and
mm-hmm,
just typing on his computer, but you come out and you associate and you are sociable, and that's what would be what would help you to transition. And those are the things that will help you with how. Um, I'm
yeah,
open for, and I like to also coach people. So people reach out to me on LinkedIn. If anybody is interested, you can give them my email address, and then they can send me an email and I can coach them the things that they have to look for and try and get, so their transition from a PhD to industry would not be difficult. And it also applies to even without PhD. There are some things that the industry is looking for that you need to get, and when you get it will make you more marketable in the industry.
yeah. So, viewers, you heard it right there. That's your opportunity. Grab it. Don't let it go. So, with that said, Doc, what's your last remark? What advice are you going to give to our viewers and the young adults out there?
So what I want to say is everybody listening to me now just sees the end product, right? Oh, he's a PhD holder, he's a senior med, he's this, he's in America, whatever. But it was a difficult journey. And so I'm not saying this to discourage you. I'm saying it so those who are going through difficult journeys now would know there's light at the end of the tunnel. You just have to um, keep doing the right things or making the right choices or doing the things that will inch you closer to your goal. There's a proverb that says um, something, a dream written down is a plan acted on becomes a goal becomes, and then you achieve your dream, right? So whatever your dream is, even if it's difficult now, you can achieve it. You just have to keep pushing towards it, work hard towards it. I had a tumultuous journey. um we weren't too rich, but we weren't too poor also. We were sort of okay, we couldn't afford some things, but we made sure that what was important was what was the focus, right? So if it came to education, my parents would give their last breath to make sure I had the book I needed. But for those who don't have those opportunities, it doesn't mean you're lost out, right? You just have to keep pushing, ask for help, reach out to people, network,
Yeah.
take daily steps towards that goal, and you're gonna get it.
Okay. So, Doc, for the benefit of our viewers out there, how would they get in touch with you if they want to communicate?
Well, I'm very reachable. You can find me on LinkedIn. Search for Charles Abbey or Charles Ebenezer Abbey. Send me a message. Let's connect. I'm always good to. For privacy reasons, I start with LinkedIn or email, and once I get to know you a little better, I can give you my phone number, and we can WhatsApp call, and we can share ideas on a lot of things.
Yeah.
Um, so look for me on LinkedIn. Let's get connected. If there's someone who you, John Paul or Augustina, can vouch for, you can give them my number. If you think um, they won't get in touch for the wrong reasons, give them my number. Let them get in touch, and it's okay. I'm always happy to share and to talk. But
Okay.
one important thing that I want to mention is, if you're interested in studying outside Ghana at some point, whether after college or university or whatever, one thing that, especially if you want to do it in America, is to try and write the GRE. It's a really good opportunity for you. And if you are trying to get funding for your program also, it's better to communicate with professors because they have funding. A lot of people make that mistake of trying to communicate with the university. So the university can give you admission, and then they'll start asking you, okay, you need to show funding proof and all that, and that's where people get lost and they lose hope. But you're better off contacting professors because they apply for funding, they get the funding, and then they need students. So you can contact a professor, talk to them politely, consistently, let them know what your aspirations are. But you need to do research about them. So read about them, know what they are doing, and then um, reach out to them and say, oh, I'm really interested in your work. I think what you did was really fascinating. I even think we can apply it in a situation in Ghana. Those
Yeah.
things get them interested, and then they will be like, oh, yeah, this guy, he may be
Mm-hmm.
like someone who can be hardworking. And even when they say no in the initial stages, some of them just say no because they have thousands of emails and they don't know how to choose one. But some also say no because they want to see how motivated and how consistent you are. So when he says no, you just leave it. It's like, okay, yeah, he was just passing. So even when they say no, just reach out a week after, 2 weeks after, and say, hey, I just wanted to keep let you have me in mind in case an opportunity comes up. And that was how I got my funding. I've been worrying this professor. I wouldn't say worrying, but I had been talking with him for like 2 years or something. He's always not had an opportunity, but I'm like, yeah, I just want you to have me in mind in case. And luckily, his PhD postdoc quit in a crucial time, so he needed someone really quickly.
Mm-hmm.
So one of those emails that I sent was just the right timing where his guy had quit and he was like, I need someone quickly. And he just emailed me, hey, are you ready to come? When do you want to come? Can you come as soon as possible? I'm like, yeah, prof, I'm coming tomorrow if you want. But yeah, he asked me, can I come? I'm like, yeah, I can come. And so that also said, for you, while you're looking for the opportunities, you have to make sure you put everything ready.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I had a family, I had a wife, a kid. I was already thinking about, okay, if I get an opportunity today, I already had passports for them. I knew I'll move them from Takwa to Accra, where my family and her family are. So those are the things. When you're looking for the opportunity, you chase the professors while you're also preparing, because sometimes um, your only luck will be that an opportunity has come and you have to move within a week or 2 weeks or a month. So you just have to make sure everything is ready.
Thank you very much, Dr. Abbey, for today. We are really, really grateful for having you here with us. So we've learned a lot today, like really a lot. I've learned that it is okay to aim higher, to want to achieve a higher education and still work in the industry. I've learned that Ghana needs a lot of material science and engineers, and we can really develop quickly and faster like the other developed countries if we engage ourselves more in that program. So thank you very much for joining us today. And until next week, we say bye bye.
It was my pleasure. Thank you.
Thank you, Doctor.
Okay.